County clerk, election denier, convicted felon, Tina Peters gets 9 years behind bars for election tampering.
You are no hero, you abused your position, and you're a charlatan.
The stunning sentence, the judge's harsh words for the far-right folk hero, and my thoughts on the lives ruined by election lies. Crime is falling in Denver, but not retail theft. As a grocery store closes, citing shoplifting, we take a look at the numbers. And a reminder that voting is for everyone eligible. An event in Arapahoe County brings together adults with disabilities to prepare for Election Day.
Are you excited to cast your vote?
Yeah!
That's tonight on Next. Elections have consequences, and so does breaking the law in search of election rigging. Tina Peters sentenced today to 9 years in her election tampering case. Colorado's best-known election denier, the former Mesa County clerk, was defiant till the end, arguing with the judge at sentencing and bringing in a parade of fellow election conspiracy theorists to defend her. Our Mark Salinger was in court in Grand Junction where Peters laughed at prosecutors, lectured the judge, then was led away in handcuffs.
Yeah, Kyle, I want to tell you a little bit about Tina Peters' day. This is the Mesa County Justice Center right here, where earlier today, Tina Peters stood in front of the judge for 40 minutes, pleading for him to give her probation, to give her a lenient sentence. So how did that go? Just down the street right here across the parking lot is the Mesa County Sheriff's Office detention facility, where she is spending tonight and likely many more nights to come. Tina Peters is a hero to the people who believe her lies. But inside this courthouse, those same lies made her a felon.
You are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe.
A reckoning happened today in Judge Matthew Barrett's courtroom. For nearly 30 minutes, speaking directly to Peters, he made it clear that words have consequences and lies lead to prison sentences.
Prison is for those folks where we send people who are a danger to all of us, whether it be by the pen or the sword or the word of the mouth. Prison is where folks go, where punishment is what we're focused on, because the crime committed is so significant that anything less would unduly mitigate the seriousness of the same.
Peters granted conspiracy theorists illegal access to voting systems in her county as she searched for proof of voter fraud. Even to this day, after finding no proof of fraud, she maintains the election was stolen from Donald Trump and told the court she did nothing wrong.
Good. Well, so you know what I'm saying is true. All right, let me move on. It's not funny. My life is on the line here, Your Honor.
No, you're the one who's making this allegation that, one,
It's
I think
not
it's
an
funny,
allegation.
and two, that I know it's true. You're saying that as if I believe you, and I did not say that.
Okay.
That is why I made the sound, because it's insulting to me for you to just put that in a record in front of all of these people that I believe something to be true.
Okay.
She pleaded for mercy, for probation.
I don't deserve to be in prison. I can do a lot more good out helping people.
But inside this courtroom, Tina Peters is no hero. For the next 9 years, she'll be an inmate.
Your reputation at this point is poor because of what you've done here and after. Your lies are well documented, and these convictions are serious. I'm convinced you would do it all over again if you could. You're as defiant as a defendant as this court has ever seen.
The judge said that Tina Peters showed a complete lack of remorse and that her 40-minute speech to the judge did not help her in trying to get probation. Again, she started on this side at the Justice Center. The judge then sentenced her to this side at the detention facility where she is right now.
A lot of legal observers thought that she was likely to get probation. 9 years is stunning. Mark, the judge said something at the beginning of his sentencing statement that was important. He said that it was not just about punishing her, but deterring others from trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, he kept calling her a charlatan and that her lies had real impacts, that these conspiracy theories that she was peddling, they affect real lives. And we heard from some of those people in court today. As the judge was sentencing her, he kept going back to the fact that this isn't just a sentence for Tina Peters, it is also trying to deter anybody else in power who is thinking about doing something similar.
Mark Salinger for us in Grand Junction. Thank you, Mark. Peters has long claimed she's a victim of a witch hunt by Democratic Secretary of State Jenna Griswold, who said today that Colorado will not allow anyone to threaten our elections. One of Peters' biggest backers, conservative podcaster and activist Joe Oltmann from Douglas County, said today to supporters what they're going to do to, quote, hold the corrupt trash judge and the treasonous traitors accountable for what they did to Tina, end quote. Oltmann's repeatedly called for the hangings of various political opponents.
Our next question on this comes from several of you, Beverly, Brian, Maureen, Gretchen, and Brooke, who wrote asking if Donald Trump could step in to pardon Tina Peters if he's elected again.
So Trump used to be friendly with Peters, called her a rock star during her Secretary of State campaign in 2022. Trump's gotten awful quiet about Peters as her trial neared. But Donald Trump cannot pardon Tina Peters if he is elected again because Peters was convicted on state charges, not on federal charges. Lies ruin lives. Election lies ruin lives. They're not harmless. They're not a fun hobby for people with nothing better to do. They're not just asking questions, because questions are one thing, false claims are another. And those lies have ruined the lives of elections workers, baselessly accused of election rigging, put clerks literally behind bulletproof glass, and caused election volunteers to reconsider whether supporting American democracy is worth the risk to their lives. Election lies tear families apart, walling off parents and grandparents in a fantasy land when their families just want to give them love without getting unhinged rants in return. Election lies ruined the life of Gerald Wood, whose identity was used by Tina Peters to sneak a hacker into Mesa County's voting system. They were searching for evidence of fraud that they did not find. And here's the thing, it does not matter, because lies don't need evidence to survive. Tina Peters has now been sentenced to spend a good part of her 70s in prison. Perhaps she realized today, election lies ruin lives. That expensive medical bill you just got in the mail isn't just paying for the care that you received. A new state-funded report says so-called facility fees are doubling the average cost of care for some patients. Hospitals say those fees are better than the alternative and that they're keeping facilities afloat. Those facility fees are specifically for outpatient care at places owned by a hospital. They essentially pay for everything but the doctor, the staffing costs, the cleaning services, the building maintenance. New research by state healthcare policy leaders and hospitals, insurance companies, and consumer advocates found that hospitals in Colorado collected an estimated $13.4 billion in facility fees from 2017 to 2022. The report says insurance companies are likely passing those fees along to patients through both out-of-pocket costs and higher premiums. The Colorado Hospital Association has lobbied against any restriction on those fees. They say cutting the fees would cost hospitals billions and could force outpatient clinics to close. Consumer advocates argue it's a small number of major hospital systems that really reap the benefits.
Outpatient clinics in Colorado would be devastated without these fees, and thereby patients' ability to get the care they need where and when they need it would be devastated too.
This really is a story of big hospital systems that already have a really strong market share and have comfortable margins that continue to increase costs for patients.
The report does not suggest specific proposals for state legislators to mitigate the rising costs. Just late last year, the state legislature required health facilities to at least disclose those facility fees to patients up front. A grocery store in the heart of Denver says theft and safety issues are putting one of their stores out of business. Our Evan Krugel looks at just how often police were called to that store versus others.
Healthy food along East Colfax is already hard to come by, but this desert is about to get even drier after the Natural Grocers on Colfax and Washington announced plans to close, citing retail theft and safety issues.
I can't say I've ever seen that.
Brian Corbin shops at the store and says the reason caught him by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the reasons for why they want to close it, I understand they're probably losing money if that was true.
In a statement, Natural Grocers says despite our investment in security and loss prevention, these factors have continued to challenge our ability to operate our stores safely and sustainably. Records show Denver police have been called to the store 78 times since the start of the year. Nearby natural grocers on Broadway and Brighton have each had less than 10 calls for service this year.
It's difficult on a business. You don't blame a business for really looking at whether it's worth it to keep open in that community when there's so many calls for service.
Stacy Hervey works in criminology at MSU Denver and says while most crime is down, retail theft is up.
If you look at the cost-benefit analysis for a criminal, going into a store and taking something is usually low risk for the criminal and high gain, to be honest, even if it's only a few items. But if you're taking something from a store every day, it's minimal cost, and yet over time it can really add up.
A big loss for those who rely on the store.
So having a store you can walk to easily just to grab stuff and go, and it's especially healthy stuff, it's one of those things I'm hoping they keep it because it's been beneficial to this area.
Now, those police records show this one store had 30 calls for theft or burglary this year. Those other two nearby stores had a combined 3. When you look at crime trends for Denver, most crime is down, but not property crimes like theft, burglary, and shoplifting. Kyle.
Evan, thank you very much. One of Denver's oldest parks is getting an $8 million refresh while keeping its history intact. It's going to take nearly $100 million to save some prime water rights on the Colorado.
Our democracy, our country works best when everyone is involved.
And getting folks registered to vote is a lot more fun when beer and bingo are involved. That's next. A park in one of Denver's oldest neighborhoods is due for an $8 million makeover. La Alma Lincoln Park is benefiting from a federal grant program to revitalize parks in underserved communities. The neighborhood around the park is one of the city's newest historic cultural districts, and the grant money will be used to highlight that history in the Chicano movement. The funding will be used to add public spaces as well, like skate parks, a plaza, picnic groves, a pollinator garden, and restore the park's amphitheater. Funding comes at a tough time for that area. Parks and Rec temporarily shut down the park last August due to an increase in drug use, vandalism, and crime nearby. Legislators from the Western Slope are asking Congress to kick in funding to secure some prime water rights on the Colorado River. They want to ensure that that water stays for use in Colorado as the feds are asking for water cuts. The Shoshone Power Plant near Glenwood Springs has some of the oldest water rights on the Colorado River, which means the plant's water rights get priority in these times of drought. Local leaders want to buy those rights from Xcel so a future buyer can't snatch up the water rights and siphon the water away from communities downstream of the plant. Purchasing the water rights will not come cheap. Local governments have been trying to raise nearly $100 million to do it. Only about half of that's been raised so far. This week, a bipartisan coalition of Western Slope legislators turned to Colorado senators, asking them to push for some federal funding to finish off that fundraising. Turn to meteorologist Kathy Sabin now for a look at the enduring heat and when we might finally get a fall-like break.
I know your story is so timely there because water is hard to come by with this current weather pattern. This dominant ridge of high pressure will keep the storm track to the north for the end of the week and the upcoming weekend. But today, a cool front came in and it literally blew in this morning. It also brought with it some smoke haze from wildfires burning outside our state. But high temperatures today, how about 70 compared to almost 90 yesterday? And we're down to 66 in Denver right now, so that just feels terrific. This is about a 15 to 20 degree temperature swing in the past 24 hours, especially for northeastern Colorado, and those areas are going to go under a frost advisory tonight. The weather headlines: much cooler today, warmer for the weekend, and what, another record high? Yeah, maybe possible on Saturday. Finally, the wind is letting up out of the northeast, which is good. Frost advisory not included for Denver, but temperatures could fall to 32 degrees. Lyman, Sterling, Burlington, and the San Luis Valley. So signs of the season. With the warming and drying trend for the weekend, Denver will go under a fire weather watch on Saturday. Fire weather warning out for Larimer and Jackson counties tomorrow as we expect those winds to kick up a bit. Temperatures trending really comfortable tonight. I mean, almost like need a sweater if you're out walking the dog. And definitely at the the bus stop tomorrow morning, kids will need a sweatshirt. We have 83 with sunshine tomorrow. If we hit my forecast, I have 87. We'll break the record of 86. The Broncos take the field at 2:05 on Sunday. Should be a great day for football. No really appreciable moisture coming in the form of rain or snow through next Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. So if you're headed to the football game on Sunday, we take on the Raiders. I'm always thinking weather. Sunshine and 80 at kickoff, Kyle.
Our vote does matter. Our vote does count. We are people. We are human.
A voter outreach effort in Arapahoe County, making voting less intimidating for adults with disabilities. Next. A brewery in Inglewood that celebrates employing people with disabilities is now working to help folks vote. Brewability Lab hosted Ballot Bingo today, a chance for people with disabilities to register to vote and learn more about the choices on their ballot.
I-25.
Our democracy, our country works best when everyone is involved.
G46. Today is the Ballot Bingo. I-22.
The goal was to make voting fun.
We don't care who you vote for. We just care that if you're eligible to vote, you have that opportunity.
I-21.
The goal of the Ballot Bingo event is to get voters, specifically voters with disability, excited about voting, engaged with the voting process, and educating about what's coming in the next month.
Have you voted before?
I have voted before.
Since I was 18 years old. A long time.
Was it easy?
No.
Voters with disabilities, from what the data tells us, vote less often than their non-disabled, able-bodied, neurotypical peers.
My voice matters.
Our voice does matter. Our vote does count. We are people. We are human.
We just have the tools here, the resources here for them to register to vote, to learn about voting, their voting rights, and to empower them to be able to make their voice heard at the ballot box.
You know, helping people understand that they're voting and why it matters.
How do you feel about this upcoming election? Are you excited to cast your vote?
Yeah!
G51.
I'm getting closer this side. And so their voice really matters. Their vote really matters on these really important issues.
B, number 9.
That's definitely our mission, is to make sure that every vote counts.
I hope everybody can vote.
Hey, a quick reminder, we're hosting a debate in Colorado's closest congressional race. Next Tuesday, October 8th, Next presents the race for Congress. Debate between Democratic Congresswoman Yadira Caraveo and Republican challenger Gabe Evans. They are seeking to represent the 8th northern suburbs of Denver up to Weld County. Only live debate in that race, 6 p.m. next Tuesday in place of Next. You can watch it live on 9 News, streaming on 9 News Plus. And we are back with your feedback next. Thank you. Feedback tonight from Cindy, who says, now that Tina Peters has been sentenced, is there an appeals process? If so, how does that work? There almost certainly will be an appeal in her case, Cindy. Her defense team made an initial request today that she remain free while that appeal proceeds. That was rejected by the judge, but almost certainly they are going to appeal, as they wanted a lot of evidence about so-called election rigging to be admitted to the trial, and the judge would not have it. Trina says, Kyle, shame on you for gloating over her conviction. Careful, God hates prideful people. I'm not going to speak for God. You're welcome to. Tina Peters invoked her religion in defense of her lies today. I would say this, I don't think we did any gloating. I think, if anything, talking about the fact that election lies ruin lives is about sympathy for all of the people who have been caught up in other people's lives, and perhaps a bit of it today for Tina Peters, who finally got a taste of that herself. Mary Jane says, my sister listens to nonstop conspiracy theories. We were close. It's a huge wedge in our friendship. I'm telling you, this stuff tears families apart. It's not harmless.